Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of
Ghetto.
My name is Hans
I'm Edward.
and we are your hosts for now and forevermore.
At least until one of us dies.
Jeez, morbid much, Edward.
It's this
Well,
cold,
welcome
okay?
everybody to Gettle episode 16.
Yeah.
It is a very cold Friday morning.
Very, very cold.
We have had a proper cold front and you are all welcome for this.
Yeah, like...
Because without fail, there is always a cold front either on or just before my birthday.
That's true.
Yes, without fail. That's what I always know. As my birthday's coming up, it's like, yep, everybody, get your winter clothes.
So
the time
what
is
you're
coming.
saying is... what you're saying is you're the cold bringer. The
Yes.
bringer of winter.
Yes, but I'm just better than the Night King, though, because that guy was lame F.
Are
Okay.
you now?
For anybody who doesn't know, I am still very bitter of season 8 of Game of Thrones. Okay?
In case you couldn't pick that up in the past few episodes.
In the last 15 episodes. So yes, it'll be my birthday next week. Funny enough, it'll actually be on the day we record Gettle. So if you're going to be here next week, we might have some sort of a celebratory event on the podcast. I'm not sure yet. I don't know what Edward has planned, but we'll see.
Literally nothing. Okay.
Thank you so much. As you can tell, this is why Edward is my partner in this. Just a quick update on my side. Lockdown is still the lockdown. We're, I think, moving to level 3 on Monday, which is a whole other discussion entirely. We'll save that for next week. But it was Jonah's birthday, though, yesterday, and I actually made some cookie butter, which, for those of you who've been listening, we spoke about the recipe in episode 13, and let me tell you, it is an absolute winner. Even to the point where I made some for myself. And if I haven't mentioned this before, I actually follow a keto lifestyle. So I actually managed to make a keto version of cookie butter, and it came out so well.
See, that's the beauty of that recipe. I can't believe I found the golden, the perfect recipe for every single type of cookie out there.
No, honestly though, like truly speaking, if any of you who've been listening haven't tried it yet, it's so simple and the result is truly delicious. I mean, this is now my second, almost third batch, and without fail, it is a crowd pleaser. And of course, when I say crowd, nobody else other than the 4 people I'm currently living with. But because of lockdown. But either way, every person has been enjoying it. And it's well, and it's so easy to do as well. It's totally worth it. We have a super jam-packed episode. Now, I know we've already been speaking for like 5 minutes, but this is probably going to be quite a long one, and I hope that you'll enjoy the ride.
Leave a like and subscribe.
This is not YouTube, Edward. Anyway, in terms of the cold, Edward, there was something...
As a PSA to everyone out there, all families, loved ones, friends and mothers and dogs and cats, please stop shoveling snow. Now...
Why? Now, this is not a problem we have in South Africa. Nobody shovels snow here. Dirt, maybe. And coal sometimes. But not snow.
Yeah, not snow at all. So, we found a study linking an abnormal amount of deaths to snow shoveling.
Correct.
And you'd think that's such an arb thing to find, and I thought so as well until I read further, and it's actually super interesting. So it turns out that according to a US nationwide children's hospital survey that has been done between 1990 and 2006.
2006?
Yes, 2006. About 1,647 fatalities have been recorded just from people who shoveled snow.
That's quite a lot in, 16 years, hey?
It's much more than I thought it would be. That's about 100 a year.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Jeez. And
So
this is just from shoveling snow?
yes, essentially. So apparently, according to cardiologists, who who was a part of this research, apparently it's all about that upper body strength and utilization. So it all comes down to the fact that people hardly ever use the muscles in the body they use to shovel snow.
No, it's not entire. Look, I find the whole thing strange because, honestly speaking, if I speak from a gym perspective, right now, I'm not snow shoveling, but gym perspective, I've always found that using my legs makes me more tired.
Yes.
And upon reading this research, it actually turns out that the more strenuous part of gym or exercise is very much upper body. And it just so happens that this is because of the cardiovascular system, which is already working very hard to keep you alive.
Exactly.
So when you start doing arm and upper body related movements, you're actually exerting additional pressure on your cardiovascular system.
Exactly.
And this is what causes, or what caused, a lot of fatalities according to the study, because a lot of these people, to some extent, may have not been as fit as others. But more so, it has to do with the cold air and how that causes your arteries to constrict and your blood supply to decrease. That, in conjunction with the pressure from using your upper body to do the shoveling, is actually almost like a perfect storm. Hey, it's so strange. It creates this strange misleveling of pressure within your upper body to the point where you have a cardiac arrest. I mean, it's fascinating.
In researching this, I've actually done a bit of reading. According to health.com, many of these issues also stem from the fact that most people shovel snow first thing in the morning, which obviously they need to get to work or get their children to the school or whatever.
Yes.
So they recommend actually doing a 45-minute warm-up before you do anything regarding snow shoveling. And also, they mention that the muscles being worked are the glutes, the hamstrings, the quads and the abs, the lower back, the upper back, and the shoulders. And all of that in conjunction with the cardiovascular system actually murders your body. It just shuts you down.
So that's very interesting then. So when I was speaking from an exercise perspective a few moments ago, I was speaking from isolation movements. In other words, if you're working lower body, you're doing just lower body. So what they're actually saying here is that shoveling is a full body workout.
Yes, it does everything. It's still an upper body workout. You're not wrong in that regard. But it also affects all of those other muscles because of all the movements.
So therefore, let's just go with full body, right?
Yeah.
Now, no wonder they were saying you need a warm-up.
Exactly.
I mean, if you just as a normal person go into a full body exercise without any kind of warm-up, you're absolutely going to stress systems in your body.
Exactly. And
no wonder people are dropping dead.
Right?
Jeez.
Yeah, it's quite bad.
That's very interesting. Well, it's not a problem we have to worry about. So.
Exactly.
But for our international listeners, especially those of you who I think are from the States or from very northern or very southern countries, and if you do deal with snow, take this in mind. Have some sex before you have to do the snow. Okay?
Yes, at least do some cardiovascular.
Although I guess I'm being optimistic here with 45 minutes. It doesn't matter. It's some kind of warm up before you have to shovel the snow.
Yeah.
Just turn to your partner and be like, baby, I need a warm up if I have to do the snow.
45
see where
minutes.
it goes.
We're going to go for 5 rounds, baby. Gosh.
On the topic of snow and climate change and how, the weather's changing and that, there's also a pretty cool series coming to Netflix. I think it's already started. It's called Snowpiercer. And unlike a lot of other Netflix shows, which come out in one go, they're doing the whole week by week thing. Now, I am curious about it, and Edward knows more about it because he's actually seen the movie that the show's based on, and both are actually based on a book, which neither of us have read.
Yeah.
But it's something that's interesting because it's got to do with, I think, a post-apocalyptic scenario in a global
Yeah.
ice age, right?
Yeah, so it's called Snowpiercer. Many of you might have heard of it, many of you might not have, but it's a super interesting take on the post-apocalypse. So basically, Snowpiercer is all about how 7 years after post-apocalypse, if I remember correctly, it's because of an engineering feat that went wrong because they tried to stop global warming.
Okay.
7 years after that, an ice age occurred, and most of the Earth's population is stuck on this ever-revolving train that goes around the entire globe called the Snowpiercer. Basically, it takes place in 2031, at least the movie does, where the entire populace of the train has become segregated. So that's basically with the elite at the front and the poor people at the back.
Which is sort of the typical scenario for most post-apocalyptic stories, like Hunger Games, for example.
Yeah, especially like Hunger Games.
It's a trend. I mean, and it kind of makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, it's when humanity basically just devolves to its most primitive functions, and everyone needs to survive.
But you see,
the elite
so
will rise.
With that in mind, I think it might be a bit different. I mean, yes, the elite who have money right now, and I guess some level of power, but when everything falls to the dogs, as you would say, money won't mean anything. We've already mentioned how it's toilet paper.
Yeah.
So
to be fair, I also think it's the working class man that's going to rise up in something.
Well,
in a
think about it like
time
this.
like this.
And I'll use myself as an example, okay? I have a master's in communications, ludology, and marketing.
Yeah.
And sure, I can whip up a fantastic marketing plan for you. But ask me to change the oil in my car, and I'm not going to be able to help you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to die within the first month of the apocalypse.
Essentially.
Where Edward is going to survive because he knows archery.
Yes, archery and changing the oil in my car and all that. Because I do that. So Snowpiercer is all about that. Now, the TV show you mentioned, Hans.
Yes.
I haven't seen the 2 episodes that have aired yet, but I believe it's sort of a reboot, but also not. Because it takes place in 2021, which is only 7 years after the world has become frozen, and not 31 like the movie does.
Oh, so it's almost like a prequel.
I think so, but it's marketed as a reboot, so I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
But also, it's been written and screenplayed by the same guy who made the movie, and the same guy who is behind Parasite, the award-winning South Korean movie.
Oh, that's
Bong
fascinating.
Joon. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, so I think it should be good, at least. At the very least, it should be good.
Well, look, that's very interesting because it means that he's the same director from the movie. So he's doing the TV show as well.
Yeah, he's not directing the TV show, but he's writing, along with the same screenplay.
Either way, he's involved. That's impressive because normally when there are reboots or remasters of things, they seldom get the original people, you know?
Exactly.
And the Snowpiercer film, I know, it's had some critical acclaim. And it makes sense now because Bong Joon-ho recently won an Oscar for Parasite. He's a very, very, very talented director. So that's fascinating. Look, I totally want to watch it. I really do. But I don't do week by week. So if I can't binge watch the show, I am not interested until I can. That's just how I operate now.
Well, just wait. I think it's 10 episodes. So you won't have to wait long.
8 more episodes of Geralt?
Exactly. Just 8 more episodes of Geralt. Then we'll speak about it in length.
So binging stuff is my forte. And in terms of binging things, we recently watched Star Trek Picard, the full season. And I was genuinely taken aback by it. It's actually decent. I mean, I wouldn't call it brilliant television, but it's good. And from a Star Trek perspective, it's much darker than the original series used to be.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of Trekkies have issues with the newer stuff. I personally really like it. So I enjoy Star Trek Discovery and, as I've mentioned now, Star Trek Picard. Now, with all of this in mind, I have always been a little bit fascinated by the Klingon. And I'm not talking about the dregs on your butthole. I'm talking, I'm talking about the actual alien race. And with this in mind, I came across something super, super interesting this week. And it has to do with Klingon opera. Now, I know how this sounds. The thing is, the Star Trek fandom is passionate and wonderful and innovative. And over the years, they've put together, I guess, Star Trek religions. But in addition to that, an actual Klingon vocabulary and courses where you can learn the language.
Yeah.
And so naturally out of this, you can imagine that talented people who have an interest in the Star Trek universe will start putting those things together. And so I actually found something whereby there's an artist by the name of Jennifer Uselis, who goes by the name of the Klingon Pop Warrior.
Okay.
And she actually sings modern songs in Klingon. And it's incredible. Like
weird.
I know it sounds so strange, but it's really fascinating to me. And the one that I really gravitated towards is her live performance of Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Okay.
Which, you know, has an iconic tune. You know exactly what song it is, despite the fact that you don't understand what she's saying because she's saying it in Klingon.
That's
and
so true.
I'm going to play that now for all of you, and I hope that you'll enjoy this little snippet. And there we go. What did you think? That was Commander Jenbom Sutaitkal. I'm hoping I pronounced that correctly. I'm not really sure. Better known as Jen Uselis, who is the Klingon Pop Warrior.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know what all of you thought. If you liked this segment, definitely let us know on socials. Edward, what did you think?
I think it's weird. It's great to see, but I've never been a fan of the Klingon culture, and it's just weird to see. Like,
look, I do get your perspective. So, I mean, I find it fascinating, but not necessarily to the point of wanting to research this fictional race to the point of actually wanting to learn the language.
Yeah. But in saying that, I do get why she did it. She's obviously passionate about it, and she's getting a huge audience out of it. So
look, live your truth.
Yes.
You know, if you want to be ordained in the Church of Hlulu, or if you want to learn Klingon or be ordained in whatever Star Trek belief there is, or even Star Wars, you do you.
Yeah.
You live your life to your best, your fullest, and as long as you're happy, it doesn't really matter.
Exactly.
Speaking of being happy, and we actually did mention this in episode 15, a lot of DC fans are happy at the moment.
Yes.
Because
I'm doing a
hashtag
side jiggle
release the Snyder Cut is very, very real.
Yep.
And today we have even more news of who is going to appear in the Snyder Cut when it eventually releases in 2021.
Darkseid.
Yes, there we go. Edward took it away. Now, I know very little when it comes to the DC universe, especially when it comes to villains. I'm a peasant, okay? I am a filthy casual, let's be honest. I know what I've been told from the movies, and so I know Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and the Green Lantern, sadly. So I don't really know enough about someone like Darkseid. Thankfully, this is where Edward comes in to complement my lack of knowledge.
Okay, so where do I begin? About 60 years. No, okay, so let me not go into the whole comic book history of Darkseid or Darkseid, as many.
No, what is it? Is it
says.
Darkseid or Darkseid?
It's I've heard it both ways from both creator and actor.
Okay.
So
Fair enough.
especially like Smallville, it was Darkseid.
So this is typical DC. Sorry, I'm just gonna say it like it is because
it's
you know where
all
Marvel
over
is
the
somewhat
place.
organized and you know what's happening.
Yes.
Here you have creators who can't even tell you the how to pronounce this major
Okay, well-
villain's name.
well, this entire hashtag is prominent to the fact that DC isn't up to their snuff. Okay. Anyway, so Darkseid, he is essentially Superman's ultimate arch nemesis.
Oh,
He
okay.
is he's basically Thanos.
To Tony Stark.
Yes.
Okay.
In the same way that Darkseid is to Superman. He's a tyrannical ruler of Apocalypse. It's a war-torn planet, and it's basically a mess. Now, in the movie, we got Steppenwolf for a brief period of time.
Yeah.
But I think the reason Steppenwolf came across as a weird, janky, badly CGI villain is mainly because I don't think he
Hold
was...
on. The true villain was Henry Cavill's mustache. Okay.
Yeah, that as
In
well.
that
That's very, very, very true. I don't think Steppenwolf, was meant to be there at the end. I think they were meant to beat him quite early on, and that's
Okay.
when Darkseid came in and basically stole the show. Alas, that ended up not happening. And
Of course, this is conjecture at the moment. We're
Of
just
course,
assuming
yes.
what we think may have played out if Snyder had finished
yes,
the movie in his own way, which we're now going to get to
Exactly.
see anyway, which is great.
yeah. So I'm basically basing all my conjecture off of the concept art that we had over the past few years, and also a new image Snyder just released
Yes.
on Twitter.
Yes.
which basically puts Darkseid in the same spot as Steppenwolf was in the marketing materials.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So also, the actor who was meant to portray Darkseid in the movie also came forward recently and said, yeah, he did. He acted out a bunch of scenes, and he's excited for us to see it.
Just FYI, the actor's name is Ray Porter. From movies like Almost Famous, Argo, and Justified. And as Edward said, he's only now speaking out because he's been under an NDA since 2017, actually even before then.
Yes.
And now, because of the Snyder Cut being confirmed, he's able to talk about the fact that, yes, he was Darkseid.
yes.
Yeah, I'm very curious to know or see what happened to the content that was filmed with him, because it's got to
Exactly.
exist somewhere.
Exactly. Speaking of that as well, I know if you look at all the concept art, you know for a fact that the Green Lantern is also supposed to be in there. I
What, in
wonder
Justice League?
yes.
No.
If you watch the director's cut of the movie, the original director's cut of the movie, in that fighting scene where everyone fights, you can actually see the Green Lantern join in the fight, but that's also
you
all
mean
you see.
In the current one?
Yes, in the current one. But I'm talking about the fights which happened in the past when the story is being told in the movie.
Oh, I see. Well, look, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I know that they're trying to reboot Green Lantern after
Yes.
the failure of the Ryan Reynolds version.
Yeah, so
So
that's what I'm
that's
leading
interesting.
into. So maybe now they're gonna lead into the new Green Lantern from possibly this. I hope so.
No, I don't think so. And just for two reasons. I've read, first of all, that HBO Max is hoping to only give Snyder roughly $30 million to do his cut.
Okay.
Apparently, it's going to cost more. But also, secondly, one of the agreements was that they wouldn't use any talent. So they're not going to get like Gal Gadot or Henry Cavill or anyone else to come in and reprise their roles for new scenes.
Okay.
They are coming back for voice lines, however, but they won't be back for actual additional filming of scenes.
Okay.
It's just too expensive.
Yeah,
I mean, if they're
get
only
that.
giving him let's say between 30 and 50 million to finish this, I mean, just the pay cut for an actor is between 15 and 40 million. So if you had to get all of the major stars back, you're looking at like what, at least 80 to 100 million extra.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look. I know there's differences in salary. Like most actors get something upfront, so they get like between 5 and 15 million upfront, and then once the movie's released, they get bonuses up to like 30 million.
Exactly.
Now, this movie, on the other hand, is not going to be released in cinemas. It's going to be an HBO Max exclusive. And I just don't feel, or rather, it just comes across as if they're not going to put that much into it because they really aren't sure how it's going to perform. And I get that after the dismal reception of the current version of the film. I get why they're, going into it a little bit more cautiously than they would before.
I get that as well. I do. We have heard rumors about Henry Cavill coming back as for more Superman movies and all of that.
No, it's not movies. It's cameos. They want to make him the Nick Fury of DC, like how Nick Fury is to Marvel.
Where
basically he's just in all the films as like a central anchor.
So basically in Flash and in the new Wonder Woman or whatever.
It's disappointing in my opinion because
that's
I want
disappointing.
a new Man of Steel movie.
Yeah.
I feel Henry Cavill deserves it, and I don't know what DC's doing.
or at least I want a third Man of Steel movie that ends the trilogy.
Yes, just give him his due, and then fine, then reboot it with somebody else afterwards.
Exactly.
Look, speaking of reboots and remakes and things like that. We have previously spoken of Stephanie Meyer and Midnight Sun, which is from Edward's perspective.
Yes.
Well, there's also a new Hunger Games for those of you who might be interested. It's called The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Gosh dang.
And it's set way, way, way in the past of the current books, where it's only the 10th Hunger Games. And it allegedly revolves around the adventures of a teenage President Snow. Okay. And how he eventually becomes the president of Panem. So it's interesting. It's different. I personally, and I speak from a place of being a fan of the original books and the first few movies, I am not keen to go back. I feel, of the many books and series that I have read in the past, I dislike how she ended off the series in the books. Yeah. And even more so in the films. I just, I can understand certain things happening, but the way she ended it, and, maybe there are people out there who don't know yet, so I don't want to spoil it because, I don't know, I just feel it was it felt like she shortchanged us as the readers.
At the end there, yeah.
At the end, really did, especially at the end of the book. So, I'm not really keen. Very much like Game of Thrones, season 8. No, honestly speaking, when last did you hear anything Game of Thrones related?
Oh.
And by that, I mean, think about popular TV shows, movies, books. If something's good, people go back.
Yeah.
Like recently in one of the previous episodes, we mentioned Battlestar Galactica, which is available on Sci-Fi in the US to stream for free.
Yeah.
That has been picking up like crazy because it was an excellent series. And it had a strong beginning, middle, and end.
That's very
With
true.
Game of Thrones and its terrible 8th season, as good as seasons 1 to 6, and maybe even if you want to count 7, no one wants to go back and watch it again because it was such a terrible payoff in season 8. And it's good. And I'm not talking about trying to appease everybody, all right? Because that's not possible. We know this. That's not my arguments with the final season. My arguments are that there was so much set up for story that they just never got to in the 8th season. And I feel they just cheated everybody. So
They
that's
did.
why, really, in the long run, if you look at it, people are just not speaking about the show anymore. People are not even going back to watch it because what's the point? You get to the season 8 finale where all of the mystery and wonder that was set up in the first 7 seasons never comes to fruition. So what's the point? Why bother watching if there's no fulfillment?
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, that's now, my tirade aside. Uh, just to bring it back. J.K. Rowling has released or is releasing a new book called The Ickabog.
Oh no. Can't you just
Okay, hold on. Before you go on the downward spiral, I am a huge Harry Potter fan, as you know, Edward, and now you, the audience, know. I am glad to say that, from what I understand, this is not based on Harry Potter.
Oh.
Yes. So this now makes it already infinitely more interesting.
Yes.
Because what is she writing about now? Look, just quickly, if we have to segue again, Harry Potter, the book series, books 1 to 7 are phenomenal. There is nothing else like them, in my personal opinion, and everybody deserves to read them.
Yeah.
The movies in their own right were also very good. This new trilogy that's happening right now, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, that is just pure money grabbing. That's my personal opinion, and somebody who's speaking as a fan of the books and the original movies for almost, 2 decades now. The new stuff is really just, it's cash grab.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm interested to see where the Ickabog goes. Now, because if this is not in the Harry Potter universe, and this is something unique and new, maybe it's worth looking into. She's no longer milking that cash cow. is what
Finally.
I'm basically getting at.
See, my biggest issue with Rowling, politics aside, is that she just can't let go. Just leave it as it is.
Do you blame her? I mean, look at the other two we've just mentioned, with Stephanie Meyer and Edward's perspective, and then the Hunger Games and going back.
See, and that's what irks me. Like, what troubles me is that all of this talent, like, I know Rowling is talented, I know Meyer is talented, but they don't create new things. They just keep going back to the same old stuff, and it becomes tiresome. And I believe in creating new things. If you have the talent, keep on inventing, keep on creating, keep the ball rolling. And finally, J.K. Rowling is doing this, and I'm actually quite intrigued.
Look, she has written other things already. First under a pseudonym, and then eventually under her own name.
Yeah, she's written 2 other books.
Correct. Now, they have had a fairly decent reception, but nowhere near Harry Potter.
Yes.
Which leads me to believe that it's possible that her talent might be more for young adult content.
It could
versus trying to write for adults. And this is by no means a negative. This is just, use where your writing is most applicable and go with it from there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so essentially what's happening is it's called The Ickabog, and she has allegedly been writing it during the global pandemic. And she mentioned this to her kids, and she also mentioned to them, should she release this? Like, what do they think? Should she release it as a book, or should she release it for people just to read?
Mm.
And as it so happens, that's exactly what she's doing. She's doing the latter. She's going to be posting new pages of the Ickabog for free on her website every day between May 26th to July 10th.
That's actually cool.
Yes, I personally think that's fantastic. I mean, it's a wonderful way of allowing, let's say, people like myself who are fans of Harry Potter, or even new readers, to have something to look forward to each day while they can't go out and do anything else. I think it's fantastic. And, with this in mind, there was a very, very small, not necessarily a blurb, but people asked Rowling what the book is about. And she said the following.
I was about...
Yeah. The Ickabog is a story about truth and the abuse of power. To forestall one obvious question, the idea came to me well over a decade ago, so it isn't intended to be read as a response to anything that's happening in the world right now. The themes are timeless and could apply to any era or any country. And I like the fact that she put in that disclaimer, because we all know that she hates Trump, number one, and she is very vocal about her political affiliations. So with that in mind, and reading that as an adult, I'm very curious to see what the Ickabog is like.
Well, The question is not what it's like now. The question is what it's going to be like in 40 years when she keeps changing it on Twitter. Because it's timeless, Hans.
Well, something that is timeless and also related to a wonderful character from another fiction, however, is Gollum. And I know this is a bit of an odd segue again, but look, at least the good thing is J.R.R. Tolkien is dead, and so he can't be around to tell people that things have changed and that this character is this sexuality now, and so on and so forth, or even just to give his political opinion. Sorry.
That's so good.
We were speaking about this now because I came across this really, really, really cool individual who is nameless at the moment. But what he does is he reads books in the voice of Gollum. And
he's not nameless.
He is nameless. He has no name.
He's Gollum.
Oh my gosh. Okay, fine. So sorry. The Hobbit, the cursed Hobbit by the name of Gollum, exists allegedly, all right? And he reads all sorts of fiction on his YouTube channel called Gollum Reads. And it's just really cool. Now, I know we spoke about Andy Serkis reading pages and chapters from The Lord of the Rings for charity. And he is the real Gollum. He is the voice. He created, not created the character, but the personification of the character for live action films. Anyway, this other individual is doing a very, very decent job. And I'd actually like you all just to hear a little bit of it right now as he reads the beginning of the first chapter of The Hobbit.
Hello, Hobbitses, and welcome back to another episode of Gollum Reads. Today, Gollum is starting a new series where he reads as the Hobbit. Filthy, nasty Hobbits. Today, we are starting with Chapter 1. An unexpected party. In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit, not a nasty, dirty, wet hole filled with the ends of worms and an oozy smell, nor yet a dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down or to eat.
And there we go. Like, as you can hear, he does a very, very decent job. Sure, it's not quite on par with Serkis, but it's damn good. At least in my opinion.
Yeah. It's a good second best. Obviously, nothing's ever going to stand up to Serkis.
Oh, I mean, of course not. But this is great. Now, if Lord of the Rings is your thing, or if listening to the Gollum read things is a fetish of yours or anything like that, head over to the channel and check it out. And as always, we will link this in the show notes.
Imagine it being your kink. Like, come here, baby.
Gollum. Okay, I can't do it, but like...
You actually did it
it's
quite
like,
well.
Okay, no, I can't do it, but like, could you just imagine?
I like it when you talk dirty to me.
Oh my gosh, I don't know what that was. That was just Afrikaner.
It was an old wimpy advert.
Oh, you the macchiato.
Yeah, the macchiato.
If you're South African, you'll know. We have this chain of restaurants in South Africa called Wimpy, and they're very well known amongst the South African community because their food is cheap, and for the longest time, their coffee was also fairly decent. And so they had this fantastic advert which poked fun at the Afrikaans accent. And it was this couple, basically talking about having a macchiato, a coffee. And how does it go, Edward?
And the lady was like, "Ooh, Beatrice, I like it when you talk dirty to me." And he's like, macchiato. Latte.
Anyway, I guess it's more South African humor. But on the topic of fast food and companies like that, are you aware of what Burger King is doing abroad, at any rate?
Only somewhat. Like, I know they've been doing some stuff for the social distancing.
Yes,
which is quite amazing.
But on like next level scale. So essentially, Burger King in Italy are running this incredible campaign, whereby they're doing three things. First of all, they're having these social distancing crowns, which are like these massive hula hoop Burger King crowns to make sure you keep your distance from you.
Okay.
Then the other one is putting so much onion in your Whopper that your breath smells, so you have to keep away from people.
And it's honestly beautiful. Like, there's so much onion on that bloody burger.
Look, I am a huge fan of onions, so like for me, this is a win. Like, I don't care who you are, I'm gonna put garlic and onions on everything, and if you don't like it, that's your problem.
Yeah. Like, I have to say, this image of the Whopper with all of this onion, just add 2 extra pieces of patty, and I'll eat it just like that. Because it looks amazing.
And the last one, allegedly, of the 3 things that Burger King is doing, is they're saying that you need to socially distance yourself from McDonald's.
Of course. Of course they will.
And allegedly this one, unlike the other 2, which are from Burger King Italy, this one is Burger King France. And allegedly, or from what I understand, the 2 restaurants are next to each other. And so Burger King put up a sign saying, you got to stay at least 1 meter away from your clown friends. So the full text says, the key to avoiding any risk is to keep your distance from your neighbor, especially if he has a red nose. So well done, Burger King. Well done. That's very, very, very clever. A great way of pivoting your marketing strategy to the current global pandemic.
Yeah. It's the best kind of strategy.
I suppose so.
Don't be an asswipe and go off your mongering.
Look, in terms of strategies, now, Crayola is doing something interesting as well. And it's, okay, sure, it's not pandemic related, but I really, really like this new product that they've released. Anyone out there should know about Crayola. I mean, it's like a staple of children. You either ate it or you colored with it. I mean, it's just one of the...
Or stuck it up your nose.
Yes. It's just one of the things. Now, Crayola is releasing a new Colors of the World pack, which celebrates skin tone. And I genuinely love this idea.
It's actually a super cool idea.
I mean, I remember as a kid coloring in, animals and people. And every time it came to humans, I would look for the beigeiest color that I could find.
The skin color.
And well, yes, what you'd consider skin color, because naturally, as a child, you look at what color you are and you're trying to match that to whatever it is you're drawing, if possible.
Exactly.
Now, unfortunately, a lot of people of different skin tones have been left out. And so Crayola saw this and were like, you know what? We need to allow all children to represent themselves if they're drawing art, whether at school or at home or whatever the case is. And so the company worked with MAC, the cosmetics company?
Yes.
Yeah, they worked with them and they created a unique pack of 24 specially formulated colors. And
that's
amazing. I love it. I don't remember the last time I used Crayola, but I want a pack just for the sake of being able to color in whatever I want to color in, I can now represent all the people in my life, versus them being yellow or blue or whatever else my imagination had to fill in because I didn't have the right colors.
Yeah. If you have like a particularly Tibetan friend and you never had deep rose, well, now you can deep rose.
Look,
it's quite cool.
I like it. I think it's great. It works, and it's nice. It's nice to see companies doing whatever they can to allow children to not be bound by color, and also to be represented, because I think it's very, very important that children should be able to see themselves or their heritages being represented in movies, film, or even just in general. I mean, for goodness sake, this is just coloring in. I mean, the fact that we haven't had human colored Crayola is like, it boggles my mind a little bit.
Exactly. like that's the beauty of coloring, though. Like even coloring books, it's all just a white page that you can fill in as you wish. And now children can do that with literal skin colors of every
Yes.
color out there.
You know, it's like it's interesting because I mentioned to you when we discovered this how I used to make everybody yellow.
Yes,
I don't know why. I think that was just the color that I gravitated towards. You know, much like Lego.
like Lego. Yes, I was about to say.
It makes me think of Pac-Man actually, because Pac-Man was yellow.
He was. That's.
You know,
He was. Oh.
I mean, we're speaking of
Wow.
childhood and like characters, and you know, he ate these bubble thingies and went after ghosts. You know, that kind of thing, and he was
Yeah.
yellow as a color. You know, he wasn't any other relatable color, I guess.
I actually still have one of those Pac-Man like huge round arcade things.
That's awesome.
It's in my at my grandma's home somewhere in a closet, and it still works.
Well, the reason why I'm now segueing into Pac-Man, in case anybody didn't notice that, is we've come across something from Nvidia. Hey, Edward.
Yes. So it turns out that Nvidia made an AI.
Everybody's
okay?
doing an AI now, and don't forget,
Yeah.
we previously spoke about a dick drawing AI in one of our previous episodes. You definitely need to see what that can do. Okay.
Exactly. There are stroke-inducing AI and P-Nor drawing AIs. And
It's episode 12. If you want to go back and have a look.
now there is an AI that recreated Pac-Man. Literally just by watching it.
You see, now that is impressive, but also
Yes.
scary in a way.
Yep.
And I find it, look, what makes this so fascinating to me is how the previous AIs we've spoken about, it also learnt from visuals. But
Yes.
the Pac-Man one takes it to another level because it watched the game, and then from purely watching, it reconstructed it. So it had the capability to understand the rules of what was happening in a game of Pac-Man.
It's quite
That is
fascinating.
frightening.
I like our two takes on it. But this means that what if we show something else, like driving over people or making more people fall during snow shoveling?
This is the thing. So in a lot of, you know, Hollywood cinema
yeah.
and even TV series, they often show that where AIs become, you know, sentient and they like scrub the World Wide Web, and then they're like, humans are a disease. All you do is destroy, so therefore you are actually the problem.
Yeah, like Ultron and Skynet.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. This is kind of on that spectrum. You know, you having this AI watch this game, it then recreates the game in its own image. But now what if you had an AI observing human cultures around the world and then choosing to recreate humanity in its own image?
Ooh, like in Matrix.
Yes, exactly like that.
Oh, wow.
I mean, can you imagine?
This coupled with Eggs Asher 12, it's gonna be
Oh,
it all
gosh,
spell.
Edward.
I'm seeing a dark future for us, Hans. A very dark future.
I don't know why you had to bring up Xylitol again, but since we're speaking about him, okay.
Yes, what's new? What's new for our Overlord?
Okay, so X Asher 12, which is allegedly how you do say it now.
Yeah.
As we mentioned in episode 13, the name that they have it written down as initially is not accepted by Californian government, by the laws. So they've had to rewrite it.
Okay.
Now, we then hypothesized that they'd be called Kyle. All right. That is not the case. So it is X Asher 12 from a pronunciation perspective. And all they've really done now is change the number 12, which isn't allowed allegedly by Californian law, into the number 12 in Roman numerals. So the kid's still going to have a very AI-driven name, I guess.
Yeah, very future name.
You know, maybe they're onto something so that when the AI overlords overrule, X Asher 12 is just going to survive.
He's going to be the AI overlord, okay? Honestly, though, it does look better on paper, and even Grime said as much. I still think it's a ridiculous name, but be
Look,
that as it may.
it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
And, look, while we're speaking of Elon, we should also mention that him and SpaceX, as well as NASA, are actually hoping to put astronauts into space. It's the first time SpaceX is going to be using real people and launching them into space. And this was actually meant to happen earlier this week, but was postponed because of poor weather. Now, as far as I understand, it's been rescheduled to the 30th of May, unless postponed again. And it's historic for a couple of reasons, but more so because it's SpaceX's first time, shooting people into space. But what I'm more interested in is how freaking phenomenal their astronaut spacesuits look.
They look amazing. It reminds me a lot of Mass Effect Andromeda. Like, a lot.
This is the thing that's so fascinating about these suits, is they look nothing like what we've seen in reality before. So what I understand is it took 3 or 4 years for these suits to be developed. And they actually used a real designer from Hollywood by the name of Jose Fernandez. I hope I said your name correctly.
Jose, probably.
Jose, yeah. And he's the designer from Batman vs. Superman, Fantastic Four, The Avengers, X-Men. And it's really evident because these suits are sleek.
Okay, now that you mentioned X-Men, I can actually see the resemblance.
Right?
Like, it does look X-Men-y. It really does.
Look, we'll put a link below so you guys can go and check this out. But honestly speaking, and as Edward mentioned, they kind of look like something from a video game or really from a movie. And now we know why. And as far as we can tell, the reason why that this was done is because, first of all, Elon wants to attract more people towards the space program. So making attractive outfits, I guess, is a priority. But number two, it was also to make them more functional. Now, I remember reading back in the past of how the US government actually hired some of Marvel's designers for the Iron Man suit to actually create a real world Iron Man one. Because despite what anybody thinks, technology in Hollywood is cutting edge.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, these designers create things, sure, for, movies and film, but they could be applied to the real world. And it's absolutely fascinating. You must go and check it out. Also, definitely check the live stream if you can, if you have time for whenever it happens, because that will really just be. I mean, think about it, and it's been almost like a decade since the Challenger disaster. So, it's awesome. I mean, it's space.
Amazing.
It's the final frontier. Well, it's very much a Star Trek thing to say.
Well, on the topic of science, it reminds me of Spider-Man a bit.
Oh, and of course. What doesn't remind you of Spider-Man, Edwin?
Literally nothing. I'll always equate something to Spider-Man. And it reminds me of something else we came across this week. And please, don't be these boys.
Oh, gosh.
So what happened is 3 boys got a hold of a Black Widow spider while herding goats. And in their wisdom, decided to prod the spider until it bit them.
Oh my gosh.
Just so they could maybe become Spider-Man.
I can't, Edward. Like, I know you're an arachnophobe, and I also fear them to an extent. Have you ever seen a Black Widow in real life?
I have. And
listen,
they're scary.
Those things are scary AF. Yes, they're big. Big.
Like, we used to... in our previous home, our manhole used to get flooded a lot because it was a shared manhole with 2 other premises, and every time we had to get someone out to check it, they'd open it and there would be an entire nest of Black Widows in there.
Oh no, Edward!
I'd die if I see it today.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, if you have children and you watch superhero movies or shows or anything like that with them, please explain to them that it's not real.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you need is now one of your children going out there and being like, look, Mom, I found a Black Widow or any other kind of poisonous spider and it's bitten them now, and you have moments to get them to the hospital.
Exactly.
Or a poison control center.
Like Hans says moments, and it really is. A Black Widow's venom only takes 15 minutes to be fatal.
That's
Um,
ridiculous. Jeez.
It's really bad.
Look, I understand also that black widows have a pretty bad reputation. They're actually quite docile. So, like, they won't bite you
yes.
unless they're being provoked, which, look, these kids did. So,
Yes.
but they didn't know any better as well, which is a shortcoming on the parents' side, not really the children's side. Just please educate your children in all things superhero related about how it is fantasy. It is fictional. It's not real. Letting a spider bite you is not going to turn you into Spider-Man. It's just going to make you sick.
Contrary
kill
to
you.
popular belief. Especially if the spider doesn't come from a lab somewhere.
Oh, listen. Speaking of things that don't work.
Oh, yes. Enlighten me.
So, let's just, okay. We have mentioned this before, just ever so slightly in one of our original episodes where we spoke about 5G. And how there's a rollout happening around the world, and how people are burning down the towers. Ladies and gentlemen, please. It's just another tech. 5G is not new. South Korea's had it for several years now, and I can guarantee you it's not giving them coronavirus or changing their sexuality or anything that's happening that, the conspiracy theorists want to have you believe. Yes, I will admit, more research into 5G can be done. I mean, as a researcher myself, there's always more. There's always place for more research. All right.
Yeah.
So sure, more research into 5G. Yes, I agree. It's not the be all and end all. But to destroy 5G things because you feel it's going to kill you or give you coronavirus, that's just dumb. Okay. Honestly, even just a quick Google search will tell you that that's incorrect information.
Yeah.
Now, with that in mind, going on the ways of conspiracy theorists and how many of these people are actually out there to earn a quick buck. Someone is selling what is it? It's a 7,000 Rand anti-5G USB stick.
Oh my
In dollars, it works out to $350 US. Which they say, it's by a company called 5G BioShield. And this USB stick uses quantum nanolayer technology to restructure reality itself.
Okay, look. It's red flag time, peeps. Let's go through this. Red flag number 1. That company name. 5G BioShield. Come on. Red flag number 2. For the low price of $350 USD,
Jeez.
or if you get 3, you'll get a nice discount of just and pay just a total of $935. Come on.
But hold on, Edward, we haven't even gotten to the best part yet. Just hold on. So,
Gosh.
Apparently, there are some FAQs about the device. Naturally, if you're going to spend $350 on this thing to protect you from 5G, you want to know how to charge it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they've broken the laws of physics, apparently, because this device requires no charging and is always active.
Can I put this in my phone? Can I get this?
No, it's not one of those fancy radiation stickers from several years back. This is okay, so apparently it always works and you just need to have it on you. But if you plug it into a USB port, you get 20 meters of protection.
Oh, wow.
Because now it's got additional power. Okay.
To protect the family as well.
Yes, to not just you. You got to make that $350 work for you. Okay.
Gosh dang.
So, according to the full-on company bio, this anti-5G USB device, right? And I read, is the result of the most advanced technology currently available for balancing and prevention of the devastating effects caused by non-natural electric waves, particularly but not limited to 5G for all biological life forms.
Oh my gosh.
So not just you, but your pets as well. All right? Now, the way that all of this works is, and I quote, by magic.
What?
Using, wait, hold on. using their quantum nano layer technology that I spoke about earlier. All right.
Okay.
Well, with all of this in mind, people have been buying it to protect themselves because why?
my
I don't know.
gosh.
These people obviously have too much money. I can think of a lot of better things to do with $350, which is like almost 7,000 rand.
Listen, I have bills to pay. I can't-
Okay, so in the UK, things like this are not taken lightly.
Yeah.
So there's now actually a government probe being sent into finding out more about this. And with that said, the initial discoveries are quite damning and hashtag obviously so.
yeah.
Turns out, okay, and I quote, I'm going to read this. When plugged into our test machine, we may have missed the bubble of quantum holographic catalyzer technology. Because according to them, all that they found is that this is just a normal USB stick with only 128 megs of memory, which is
What?
literally nothing.
You don't even
And
get
it
that
includes
anymore.
no. You do get one thing. You get a 25-page PDF of the material in 5G BioShield's website.
Oh my gosh. So you get a backup of the website.
Yes.
And also, I have to note, this stick looks like every other USB stick you can buy at the closest spaza shop. I've seen this being sold in heaps at the nearby corner shop. I
Edward,
kid you not.
I firmly believe you. It's 128 megs. Come on, these things are like 5 rand. I mean,
Wow.
not even like $1. You can get these things for cheap, almost everywhere. But some company is selling them to the masses who are worried and scared about 5G tech. And this is the result.
It reminds me of that armband, Power Balance.
Oh, yes. That was
yeah.
a huge thing back in the day. I tell you, every second South African had a power band.
Listen, I still have mine somewhere.
What? I still don't know why people got those things. I mean, what was it? What was it supposed to do? Like
Keep you
change your
balanced and
chakra or
focused.
something?
Yeah, some random shit like that. I don't know. I just know I had multiple colors and 2 of them snapped.
Oh my
at school.
gosh, Edward. I
That's-
didn't know this about you. I'm now silently judging you.
Listen, I was little and I took everything my parents gave me, okay?
Nice way to throw it on them, Edward.
No. I'm not throwing it on them. I'm just saying I took it.
PSA, teach your children about conspiracy theories.
Please, get them tinfoil hats and sit down one night and just go through every single chaos theory and conspiracy theory you can.
My gosh. Honestly, the stuff that's out there.
Yeah, it's bad.
All right, well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. If any of you have anything cool that you'd like to submit to us, please do. You know where we're at. We've had quite a few submissions in the past, and hopefully we have some more for next week.
Yep.
And as I mentioned, it is my birthday next week. So if there's anything you really want me to say on the podcast or...
Hello, Hans. My grandma is also birthdaying today. Can you please send her a shout out?
Edward, no. Look, it's just please let us know right in. Or if you come across anything else like these Spaza Shop USB drives which are being sold as 5G cures, let us know.
Yeah.
Oh, man. On that note, we did sort of mention earlier in the beginning of the episode that South Africa is going down a lockdown level. So we're going to level 3.
Yeah.
Which I'm a bit afraid about, if I must be honest. Because it looks like they're basically opening everything with the exception of beauty salons and gyms.
Yeah.
Even churches now can congregate as long as it's like 50 people or less. Now, I'm a person of faith. I disagree with that. I don't think that they should be open. I think that we could wait until much later for people to congregate and worship. That's my personal opinion.
Listen, I believe in the project at Eden's Gate, and Father Joseph Seed is going to lead us into the apocalypse.
I saw this thing where somebody on Twitter was like, is anybody believe in the power of orgies? Because they would like to meet for a gathering.
Like, no.
to worship together.
I'm sorry.
just like, I'm just like, that's a bad idea because, you're going to be swapping fluids. So that's just, bad in general.
Yeah.
The orgy bit sounds good, but, come on, coronavirus, guys. Let's be a little bit more sensible.
Even if you were into orgies, I'm sorry, but just do it like one or two people at most. Because
No, just stay at home. And if you're single, use your hand or a grapefruit. They're cheap. You can buy them. Warm them up in the microwave.
yeah, go
actually,
to the.
Actually, what's better than that is a banana peel. Just FYI.
Well, that's good to know.
I've read about these things in case anybody.
Have you read about them? Read about. Okay.
Read about.
Okay. Just gonna put that on record.
Okay, well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being a part of episode 16 of Gettle.
Yeah.
It was a nice long one today.
Yeah, it was packed.
Yeah, packed full of awesome content for now and forevermore. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Please do keep in touch with us if you like online, and we look forward to seeing you all next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, ciao for now.
Bye.